Hello, and welcome to the Spilling the Tea podcast. I am your host for today, Lisa Loud from Secret Network. And this podcast is called Spilling the Tea, where we'll be unveiling confidential computing insights from industry leaders. This is not your average podcast. It is Spilling the Tea podcast, so listen closely to get some good information. We have two really amazing guests prepared for today. So without further ado, I will announce introduce our guests, Paul Taylor and Heath Samples, who are co-founders of WagerLink. Paul has 20 years of technology commercialization in ad tech, in carbon tech trading, and 8 years in Web3, both investing and incubating and product launching. While Heath has 20 years in gaming and founded Bet Digital. Bet Digital was one of the first content providers for gaming that went online. So I'm just going to give a quick intro to WagerLink. I'm sure Paul and Heath can do a better job, but let me just say how excited I am about this product. Imagine if anyone could be a bookmaker. Your platform is distributed peer-to-peer sports betting network, and it's powered by agentic AI. So players set their own odds, they stake their own bets, and the AI agents handle everything from sharing the bet across social media to inviting challengers and matching opponents, managing escrow, and then settling payments instantly. So it's decentralized, the dream, right? And viral and fully automated. Peer-to-peer betting already sees over 50 billion in annual matched volume, but it's dominated by a handful of centralized exchanges. And if you've been listening to Spilling the Tea, you'll know that we are all about decentralization and we're all about maintaining confidentiality within decentralization. So it looks like WagerLink is unlocking liquidity for the rest of us. So every sports fan can become a market maker. Is that about right, Paul?
I think you've nailed it to a T there, Lisa. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Delighted to be here.
Great. Do you want to say anything else about WagerLink? Why are you excited to be part of this project?
Well, I've been looking for some time for a product that I think can make a significant change to the way that things are currently done. And I've known Heath for some time, and with Heath's background in iGaming, it became very apparent to us when we were kicking some ideas around that the viral concept of simply allowing people to challenge each other about their sports, well, certainly starting with sports, but we're going to move this on to effectively where people can actually wager on anything from the price of Bitcoin through to the number of eggs laid in Belgium on a Tuesday, and the virality aspects of it ties in very, very nicely with the decentralization.
Amazing. And Heath, I'm going to ask you the same question. What drew you to this idea and this project?
Yeah, my history and experience has been in the Web2 gaming element. So, it's not to be, the whole Web2 industry is huge. It's $540 billion a year value. And we're still relying very much on horse racing, roulette, blackjack, 5-reel, 20 win line products, whether they be in the casino, the arcade, online or in mobile. And we as an industry are very, very slow at adapting to new technologies. And it's well documented. We had mechanical reels, nobody wanted to use video reels. We had video reels, nobody wanted to go online. And the online world didn't want to go into mobile. And, what we're seeing here is that in the very early stages of life, it was player gaming. If you look at the Colosseum, these guys fought against each other and people bet on it. And people who bet on it and won, they kept the money. What we've done in the 20th century is we basically had a lot of institutions and that have created an industry where people bet against them. They're the house and you're betting against the house. What we've done here is basically reestablish player-to-player gaming. So we're now saying, you yourselves can play against your other friends, your colleagues, and you can be the bookmaker. So we're taking the hand out of the huge industries and we're putting it back into the people, back into the players, and they can be the house and set their own odds.
Yeah, that sounds great, except for the fact that when you put things on chain, don't they get a little transparent?
They will. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. And I think, one of the reasons we're leaning into the Secret Network and, people like SilentSwap, are because transparency has a viable purpose, of course. But nobody wants complete transparency because people like privacy, and privacy has to be a core pillar of how people engage with products.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I want my mother knowing how much I bet on how many eggs were laid in Belgium on Monday. Might feel a little embarrassing.
She would be quite happy though to know that you'd won, wouldn't she?
She would. So tell me how you see this integration with SilentSwap. SilentSwap is built on Secret Network. It's a privacy-focused transaction service. Tell me how you see this integration potentially leading to better security and better privacy.
The first driver for this is trust, I think. And what we're asking people to do on our platform is to give the platform their hard-earned money. And you will only really be successful in that if you are trusted. It's one of the great pillars of brand architecture, that trust has to be a core feature of it. And trust has to be built through a combination of transparency and privacy. So if you combine transparency and privacy, you get trust. And that's a really, really powerful combination. So that's the first point. And the second point, I think, is quite key. If we are anywhere near as successful as the level of ambition we actually have, it's highly probable that we'll be targeted for exploits. We're very fortunate that our tech provision built, and Heath can explain this a little bit better than I can, but built a very, very secure system. So from the beginning, from the origin of the tech architecture stack, security has to be the prime key, and SilentSwap provides that level of discretion and anonymity and protection, and especially for regions where there's regulatory grey zones or there's a social stigma, or quite rightly, you don't want your wife knowing that you've just lost 50 quid on Belgian eggs. So that's a very, very nice. That's a very, very nice combination. Hence, we're delighted to be involved with SilentSwap.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and SilentSwap is very focused on discretion, anonymity, and protection, all things that you're talking about as central pillars to what you're building. So, tell me a little bit about what it means to be your own bookie.
Well, so we all know bookies, they will set the odds, they will put a price out there. So how about then that, you and I, Lisa, we'll bet on an NFL game, and I'll say that, the Philadelphia Eagles will beat the Dallas Cowboys 54-46 tonight. I'm going to bet you 7-1 that there's also going to be more points than 30 in there. So I set that bet. I send it to you. I can send it across my other networks as well. And then you say, you know what, Heath, yeah, I think Dallas Cowboys will win. So I'll take that bet. So I become the bookie. The next week you can bet, you can pick your team and say, Heath, I think my team X is going to beat your team Y. And I think it's going to be 4-1, 10-1, 15-1. We put the bet on through WagerLink. WagerLink holds the custodian as the wallet. The game takes place, AI checks the results, automatically plays out on the blockchain. So it sounds like you're a bookie. Yes, you are. But actually, we're making wagering a completely effortless, seamless transaction, and something that's more fun for you to do, knowing that you're playing amongst your friends than you're playing against multi-million dollar business that really doesn't value your custom, doesn't really give you any loyalty bonuses or points, and will actually take you, all the way through to extinction, if you let them. Where peer to peer, player to player, it's happy, it's fun, and nobody's losing the shirt off the back.
I mean, perhaps one way of looking at it is who needs Ladbrokes if Larry from Liverpool is offering 4-1 on a Darwin Núñez hat trick on Saturday? Now, I'd take that bet because Núñez kind of ate a barn door, but it's going to be great fun.
So the expression "the house always wins," do you think you're disrupting that expression?
Hugely, absolutely hugely, and it's back to what I said about the Colosseum. We're empowering people to play against themselves now. And I think that's where people will see the opportunity to have some fun, because it's got to be fun. It's got to be fun first and foremost. You can almost bet on anything. As Paul said, once we've gone through the sports, we'll always offer sports, but you can almost bet on anything. And, the house doesn't win in WagerLink. You win. You win in WagerLink, not the house.
And yeah, I mean, it's also probably worth pointing out that in about 6 months, we're going to be launching a DAO, because we actually want this to be properly distributed with distributed governance, the DAO making decisions on what happens, and the development of the project. No one's done this. Certainly in the betting space, because the tech wasn't really ready for it, I think. And I think with the emergence of products like Secret Network and SilentSwap and this explosion of agentic AI, which I've fallen in love with, it really is going to allow this to be distributed in its purest form, decentralized in its purest form as well, and that's really important.
Yeah, that raises a question. So you said distributed. So how is the regular person on the street able to use the product, interact, set a bet? What's the interface going to be like?
Yeah, sure. So we're going to start in Telegram. And we're doing that for a number of reasons. Telegram is the home of Web3 across all the various social platforms. They've got some interesting technology, which we're using part of by way of a Telegram mini app. And people will be invited to simply join the Telegram group. They'll be able to get all the links on the WagerLink website, which will be wager-link.com when that goes live. And the your personal wager manager will ask you what you want to wager on. And you'll say, all right, Everton to beat Liverpool on Saturday, which is never going to happen. Sunday, I think it is. Or is it Monday? No, it's next week. It's Wednesday, that isn't it? Yeah, will never happen. So I'll foolishly put a tenner on it. People can currently wager in Sol and USDT on Solana and also Tom, but we're bringing a whole load of other currencies online. Then the wager link will then confirm the match, you deposit your funds, and you get sent a wager link, which is something that can be shared. And you can share it across your socials, or we can ask the AI to do it for you, and it'll be shared all the way across, and people can match it, and all the results are automated, and you win your bragging rights, or you lose your shirt. It's all part of the fun.
You said you're starting on Telegram, and that is where Web3 lives, but is your target audience for this really a Web3 audience, or long term do you have other visions?
Well, I think there are various drivers to adoption of crypto, and I think gaming has to be one of those key drivers. So yes, we're starting with the Web3 community because people will need to have a wallet, and there is, if you're a Web2 user, getting a wallet is still problematic initially. There's still a level of friction there. But we do see this as an opportunity to onboard Web2 users into Web3, because the way that we've constructed the AI process, it is very, very simple. It's very, very frictionless. So the technology is platform agnostic. In a sense, it can work on any platform, but you have to start somewhere, and I can't think of anywhere better than Telegram to start it.
All right, great. So, where do you think that you talked a little bit about the future of adoption of blockchain, and I think you raised a really interesting concept, which is that something needs to be the catalyst for adoption. Up until now, we've really had speculation on token prices specifically as the main driver for adoption, which means that we've had people come into the space who are traders, mostly traders, speculators, risk takers, degens, as we call them. And now we're talking about betting on sports in as one big use case for WagerLink. Um, do you think that that's going to lead to a different adoption profile, I guess? Are we going to get some different people into blockchain because of this, besides the speculators?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, a lot of it is contingent on a user's integration with the technology. So if it's seamless, if it's frictionless, or even if it's under the hood and they don't even know they use it, that's the easiest. I mean, we know that if Web 1 was sign up with email, Web 2 is sign up with Google and Facebook, and Web 3 is connect wallet. Um, the sooner that the sooner the mobile phone companies introduce wallets inside SIM cards, which I think Vodafone are looking at the moment, that'll be a massive tipping point. I don't know how email works. I haven't got a clue, but I know it's very, very easy to use. And I think the sooner that we, as an industry, drive towards simplicity of use, wrapped inside a real world use case, then there will be a tipping point in adoption. But that's just my humble opinion. What do I know?
I mean, to answer that one as well, Lisa, just to add in that when we went from online into mobile, one of the big sticking blocks was obviously mobile phones at that time were not suitable. The screens weren't big enough, the download speeds weren't quick enough. But the technology industry, the hardware industry, caught up quickly because they see the opportunity. And I think exactly the same will happen here.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I can't wait to see. So I'm going to turn a little more technical here and just talk about the fact that this technology, you mentioned that the technology wasn't there yet, and that's true. The reason that WagerLink is possible is that there's now a way to have confidential computing on chain. So it's possible to have these wagers placed to keep it all completely private and protected and encrypted. And the reason that's possible is that we have trusted execution environments. So under the hood, we don't want to have to look under the hood as a user, but as game developers, as project developers, it is interesting to think about the fact that TEEs have brought confidential computing to the world in a way that's easy to use, it's fast, it's cheap, it's doable. It's not like the top level of security, but really, do we need the top level of security for protecting our on-chain, our online betting activity? It's not like it's a government secret. It's not like anyone's going to invest a lot of money in figuring out how much you won on the eggs this month. So, but there's still a need for a reasonable level of security. And I think that's why TEs are so interesting. They can enable and empower use cases like WagerLink, even like SilentSwap as a utility. But then WagerLink can use SilentSwap in order to protect the privacy without impacting the performance. You're still going to get fast response from the system. You're still going to get everything encrypted from the beginning to the end. And one thing that a lot of people have not really recognized yet is that when we do something with online, the the interface between us and the system, it may go through a network administrator. That network administrator has the ability to listen to everything that's going on. So you may think, wow, it's totally secure, it's totally encrypted, except for that network administrator who actually, if he's a bad actor or she, could listen to all of the activity, put together the data, and then sell it. With TEEs, you have the advantage of being able to encrypt it and keep it away from those network administrators as well as everyone else. And it's a little known flaw in many privacy schemes is that you have this network administrator who can listen to everything. So I'm just wondering, have you thought through the end-to-end process and how to protect your users from being spied on?
We're in the process of doing it. We're fortunate that our CTO actually has a digital security background. So I think I said at the beginning, it's very, very important for us to architecture privacy and security from the ground up and through the entire process and through the entire system. So the answer is yes, we are doing it, and in due course we'll be able to publish and show people how we're doing it.
Amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about, you're in an industry where there's increased scrutiny, of course. Can you tell us a little bit about your challenges in terms of regulation, provable fairness, and licensing?
Yeah, sure. So we previously companies I've worked with have traditionally been licensed in Malta, Gibraltar, the Isle of Man, Curacao, some of them as well, and the UK Gambling Commission, of course. So what we've done at WagerLink is not slightly different to your traditional gaming companies. It's completely different. So you and I, Lisa, are wagering against each other. We're not introducing the house. So therefore, in terms of licensing the product, we don't actually need any gaming licenses. However, having said that, we want to be socially responsible. We want to make sure that our players are protected. And we are licensed through a northern Canadian territory called Tabiki, which is in the last year, the go-to licensing authority for gaming companies. Now that Curacao has fallen over and Malta and the Isle of Man are not seen as being so fair anymore, Tabiki is. So we will be licensed under the Tabiki Gambling Commission. So we'll have all the player protections, your customer protections, all the rest, the strict instructions and limits that the license operates, even though we're not required, because we just think that that gives people, our customers, ourselves, the internal staff, and the front-facing part of what we're doing, confidence that actually these guys, whilst they don't need to be regulated, they are not, they are not wagering between themselves. It's you people that are our friends, customers, colleagues. We've still decided to go down the licensing route.
I think the other point to make on that, Lisa, is that another driver for creating a DAO is an added level of protection, an added level of security for the players. So by default, a player will have to give us their wallet so that we can send them their winnings, obviously. So players will be auto-enrolled into the DAO, and it will be us and the DAO that will actually be on the license. So the players will automatically, by virtue of playing, fall into a very secure protection framework, because it's good to be kind and you have to be nice to people. That's what we want to do.
Nice. All right, let's finish up with just some thoughts from you guys on the future of confidentiality and iGaming. What do you think? Do you think privacy is hot, or do you think it's cold?
It's coming back into vogue, in my humble opinion, and probably because digital surveillance is growing. So if you got blockchain tech plus privacy tech, that's just new possibilities for confidential and user-driven ecosystems. So on a macro level, I think that's one of the key areas. But the iGaming space is just evolving, from centralized casinos to peer-to-peer platforms, from opaque odds to on-chain transparency, and logically from surveillance through to user-controlled identity and data. And I think, the combination of those macro thesis and those micro theses means that we're actually going to be in a much more fair, a robust, and a better technical environment. So I'm very happy to be involved.
Heath, do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, just I mean, Web 2 traditionally is, register the player and put people, gambling companies for the for not wanting to sound too pessimistic with them, they will pigeonhole their players where they see fit. They'll pigeonhole their players on spend, hourly, daily, weekly spend. They'll pigeonhole the players on the social demographic, where do they fit. They'll pigeonhole the players on their revenues. They'll pigeonhole the players on where they live. They'll pigeonhole them on what game styles they play, and they will systematically profile you because you are a certain type of player, and they will offer you certain type of games. So while you think you're enjoying your choice of games out there, you're not really doing that because they have an awful lot of transparency. We don't. So, that's the key difference. And with the blockchain, again, with the confidentiality that proposes and puts out into the world is definitely the way forward for the players themselves.
Yeah, I don't think we all realize how much we're watched and how much our flow of information is controlled by people who are interpreting our behavior, which is quite scary. So I do hope that privacy is coming back into vogue because the future does not look very bright if we don't have privacy as a default. Where do you
I think where privacy works is that it prevents commercial exploitation
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
our data is exploited, not for our benefit.
Yeah, you think we've ever been exploited before in the past?
Oh, okay. Well, I can guarantee, listen, I've poured over data sheets and data sheets and data sheets of how you will play your roulette game. I have poured over data sheets on how you will come out at a certain stage of the rule of a spinning wheel game, 5 wheel, 20 line game. I will look at data sheets on how you've played on a Vegas machine and how it's awarded you certain symbols and how you've attracted to them, how you've held them, how you've nudged them, and we basically focused the game design around that in the Web2 industry. You would not believe how much you are profiled. It
Uh,
is unbelievable.
Incredible. And then if you add AI to reading those data sheets, so
Oh,
you don't need the human, you don't have the gate of having a human to read it all and interpret it.
you're even more on the hook now as a player with a big with the house bookies. You're even more on the hook with what they're proposing to do, which is again why WagerLink blows that wide open and says, "Look, why don't you guys bet amongst yourselves, have a great time? Your confidentiality is key. We don't profile the games. You actually pick your games. You decide what you want to bet on. Who else is doing that? Nobody. Nobody's doing that."
And I'll tell you the answer to the number of eggs laid in Belgium on a Tuesday. It's about 4 million, believe it or not.
Good. I'll keep that in mind for my
Yeah. Everything you need to know at dinner party, Lisa.
You never know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll probably forget it immediately, so maybe I'll write. So where do you see yourselves in 5 years?
I think, I don't know, if I'm totally honest. The ambition on the roadmap is to have, the largest, most effective, fairest, secure, robust, private, uh, decentralized gaming community.
And I think also, Lisa, I think that we will use AI to let AI generate people to let them generate their own games and what they want to play peer to peer on. Let them decide how they want to generate the games and how they want to play them based on AI and on forward future results. And I can see WagerLink coming across all different shapes and sizes across all different industries. A lot in the industries that decide on elections and all sorts of other things. The gamification with WagerLink is pretty endless, and I think it'll just continue to grow and grow and grow.
Amazing. Well, let's grow together. Let's build with SilentSwap, and with Secret Network and WagerLink. Let's build the future of fair betting and gaming.
Brilliant. Thank you.
So much for joining us today. I know it was short notice, and I appreciate you both giving your time and jumping on with us today.
Well, it's actually
You're welcome. It's a pleasure. Thank you, Lisa.